Hi, I'm Richard Riley of Riley Productions. Today I'm going to teach you my method and workflow for doing architectural photography. Now, architectural photography can be of buildings, small interiors, barns, landscapes, anything of that nature. But normally what happens is when you walk into a room or you see a scene, your eye can see a wide range of exposures, the sunset, foreground, that the camera really can't capture with one exposure. So basically, we've come up with some methods and techniques through necessity of some of the jobs that we've done of layering to basically take some different exposures in one picture. Now, this has to be done with your camera on a tripod so that there's no movement. And by doing this, we can take the areas of a window that would normally be blown out if you were shooting to see the foreground, let's say, which is in shadow. And we expose a range of exposures and take a little bit of each one of those and layer those all together so it looks pretty much like your eye is seeing it. We've done that in a variety of techniques that, and locations that I'll show you here. Like a typical one would be one we did for a Moffitt Cancer Center. This particular shot basically is almost 2 hours of exposures where we've picked just a little bit of each of those time frames and basically layered it all together, and it looks like we captured it right at the right moment, when in fact there isn't an exact moment like that. This is the Moffitt Cancer Center, as we had mentioned, and this is the before shot where we started pre-dawn to get some lights in the windows here and a basic nice exposure down in the trees. Here's the after shot where we've actually recorded the image where as the sunrise was starting to come across the building, and we added a different sky that had come in, and also the logo here, as you can see. Okay, here's an exterior of a home that we did for Ruttenberg Homes, and this will just to give you an idea of some of the things that can be done. Now, we cut a mask out for here, which is a very simple little edge, and we tried some different skies. So here's a sky, here's a different sky. We actually ended up with this particular sky, I believe, yes, that we used. Here's some layers. We actually added the tree limbs in the corner, as you could see, to give us a little balance. And here's some of the layers that you can see where we've increased the density and brought the interior up slightly. Same with here. And the curves, as you can see here from the curves from just that area, that we've brightened this up as well. Here's the interior of a recent cruise ship that we did, and the normal shot that you would see if we wanted to get detail down into this wood and these areas, this would be all overexposed, as well as the lights here. So basically, if you take a look, you can see what we've done with the top, and this area here we've actually done some color correction up in here by the layering and added a little more density right into this area here. Here's another large dining area on the cruise ship where you can see the different things that we did here. Here's the back area where you can see where we basically selected that area and increased the density there. Here's the dome area here, which this basically had a little color hue to it, so we went in and just corrected this area and made it more pleasing for you to look at. Here's a large exterior that we did for the Ritz-Carlton down in Naples. Now, there wasn't a moon, so we pulled one of our stock moon shots and actually put this in the shot and had it reflecting in the water down here, which is a very simple technique. Now, another thing that was a problem with this particular shot was this light, for some reason, was out up in this dome. So what we did, we took this area here and basically cloned it and basically put it over here. So we made this area light the same as this, but in the original shot, this was dark up here. And of course, we went in and bracketed some exposures and brought this up. This is probably about 30 minutes worth of exposures so that we could basically bring some detail into these shadow areas. Then we waited until the lights started coming through in the rooms and up in the top areas here. Here's a heart center that we did down in St. Pete. This particular shot, there was a lot of work. We trimmed the trees back here. As you can see by the clouds moving slightly, that this was a fairly long exposure. Now, in addition to the way you're looking at this was all totally lit. This building didn't have any exterior light on it out here at all. So this the light on the front and these lights coming up here are lights basically that we added in the shot. These were tungsten lights. This particular area down here was not complete. It was all under construction, so the retoucher went in and cleaned the sidewalk up a little bit and added some light into these windows as well. And then in addition to, these trees were not here. So basically we pulled these trees out of here and put them over here. Here's another interior of a home. So if you look out here, in the normal exposure, this would be too hot because this is daylight. So we did an exposure for that, and basically just then came in and just added this exposure in here so it didn't draw your eye outside, so the level was as it should be. And here too as well, we did another exposure here which was much more open. So this exposure with the flash was probably at about a 60th. So then we added another exposure here that was probably 1 second to basically bring this area up so the ambient light that was in here as well as up in here recorded, and then we just added that in. Here's another one that we did for Simonton windows, and if you tried to layer this, shoot this as one exposure, all of this would be very hot and burned out, and the windows would be blown out as well. So what we did, we exposed the windows down, basically came back in and took these in, and the same with the shutters. We basically exposed those down so that they had detail, and then we could add the detail back in here as well. The cruise ships are some of my favorites because of the lighting that they have used to design and to make the interiors so interesting. So this is primarily where the concept and the technique started. As we started to do cruise ships, it was obvious that some of these areas we could not light because they were too big and too massive. So this particular area, we shot this pre-dawn, so we actually had the blue tone in the windows, but we exposed those and brought those up so they had a nice color in them. Then we bracketed the exposures all around so that we had detail down here in the shadow areas, as well as exposing a little faster shutter speeds, so we had detail in the light areas as well, where a light would be hitting the tops of things and that type of thing. This is one of my favorites. This was a train that we did in Anchorage, Alaska, and this was also done as a 360 VR, but this particular train was shot in a rail station because this train only didn't run on Thursday. So on our way down to shoot the cruise ship down in Seward, we basically shot this exterior, and basically this exterior was put in the windows here from a shot that we did when we were on our way down to shoot the ship, because this normally, if you looked at this without this in the windows, this was actually shot in the train yard, and it was basically just construction and some various other things in the background that were unpleasing. This too, some of our favorites with the cruise ships, and a lot of people say that, again, this was a necessity for us to come up with this technique because like this particular area, there's no way you could light this. The pool areas, we normally shoot right at sunrise, so we still get the lights and the pool lights and all of that basically read, and then we expose down for the skies. So if you take a look here, you can see how the sky was a little duller. The down below was a little duller, and as we started layering this all together, you can see this is a mask just for the lights. So we made the lights so they weren't too bright. So basically, as you start to see how it was built, you can see that this was quite a layer of exposures that was done for this particular shot. Now, as I mentioned too, this is my primary reason that we came up with the techniques originally was because of the cruise ships that we were doing, and as you could see, this would be almost impossible to light. So, and plus they've spent a lot of money with the design of the lighting and the feel and the texture within the columns and that type of thing. So this is about 6 exposures, and we've layered all these together to make it just perfect. But if you were just doing one exposure with the camera, these areas would be too dark. These lights would be blown out, and you wouldn't have this particular range that we have here where it's total pleasing to the eye. Okay, so now that we've seen some of the variety of images and the techniques that we've used in various locations, today we've selected a very modest model home to show you the techniques that we can use. We're going to do an exterior and several interiors, and basically with that technique show you before and afters of how this can be done. We're going to use some lighting, but it could be done if you didn't have any lighting. So let's go on down to the location and get started.